Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and we are outside a house flip that is finished and staged. As usual, this one took a little longer than we hoped, but it's done. We'll show you what it looks like. The before video will be linked in the comments if you want to see that. And this one is a little bit bigger, newer than our normal flips. Has a 3-car garage, as you can see. And we did paint the outside, paint the inside, did new flooring, fixtures, did some bath work, a little bit of kitchen work. Did quite a bit on this house. Now this house has some of the craziest light switches I've ever seen. I never noticed it until I was turning on lights to make sure they all worked, because that's one of our things we do before we list a house, is making sure all the lights have bulbs and the switches work, which you'd be surprised how many times they don't. But it's a little crazy. This is also the house that got shot up by like BBs and pellet guns too, so we had to do some work. Had to replace the front window. Ended up replacing all of the windows actually, because the back windows had some just sun fade and weatherization, that's a word, on them. So we did do quite a bit of work on this property. You can see it's staged. We decided to stage it. I think it just makes it look so much better, especially the pictures. When we have professional pictures done and staging done, it makes the marketing so much more attractive. And with our staging company, they actually started taking professional photos too. So we get kind of a package deal when we do that. Now this house also had the all faux carpet in it, pet stains everywhere, maybe a murder scene, we're not sure, over here where there's an actual hole in the floor. It was pretty crazy. Now, it wasn't a massive remodel. We weren't taking out walls or adding rooms or finishing the basement, anything like that, but it still was pretty involved and took quite a bit of effort and time. As far as the staging, they've been doing a pretty good job. That table's a little small, but it's not awful, and it's pretty affordable for what we do. Now, this house we paid $360,000 for, which is much more than we usually pay for a flip. But like I said, it's a little nicer, newer than some of our other flips we do. So we did put in granite, which we rarely do, and our thought process on that was, one, it's a nicer house, and two, it's a really small kitchen, so it really wasn't that expensive to put in granite. We do not put fridges in our houses usually, because most people know in our area they've got to buy one or bring one. Once in a while we'll have a buyer ask us to put a fridge in, and we'll do that. But especially in this kitchen, it feels so much better without a fridge. The fridge they had in here before was huge though, and that's part of the problem. And I think you really need a counter depth fridge for this kitchen, because they have fridges that are counter depth, which come out to about where your counter is, or 2 feet, and they have fridges that are full length that stick out quite a bit, and the counter depth make it. And this is what I was talking about, was some of the weirdest light switches ever. And I didn't discover this until, like I said, we were trying to turn on lights and make sure everything worked. I don't remember this happening before, but there were 3 switches in that hallway, and none of them seemed to turn on the light. So I was confused as to what was going on. That light turned on the kitchen, but then another one didn't seem to turn on the kitchen. It happened in the basement stairwell too, where you turn on one switch, it doesn't work, but the other switch did work. And so after messing with this and trying different configurations, and being baffled for a little bit, thinking, because I mentioned before, a lot of times our contractors won't have the lights working. Well, lately they've been really good, so it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare to have the entire hallway not working. And then, okay, I got it turned on. Oh, now these work. Basically, these 2 switches back here only work if that back switch is turned on. If that back switch is turned off, those light switches don't work at all. So I don't know if it was built that way or somebody changed things over time, but I'm kind of wishing I would have figured that out before we had it staged and completely finished, because that might drive me crazy. I mean, maybe if you're living there, you figure it out and you don't have an issue with it. But man, I was just like, what is going on? And then we figured it out. So, like I said, there was another spot in the kitchen where it's the same way. One switch turned it on and off, but the other switch would not turn it on or off unless the other switch was on. And then the other switch worked fine. So there's some weird connections, weird stuff going on that front. And this house is 20 years old. So it's not like it's an old house. It should have lots of weird electric work done over time. It really should have no electric work done over time. But anyway, here we go. Here's the master bedroom. Our staging company does stage one bedroom. You can pay more and have all the bedrooms staged. It does get a little bit more expensive, and so we usually just go with this bargain staging package, and it seems to work pretty good. Like I said, we had to replace all the windows here, making sure the door edges got painted. They did, because that was one of our walkthrough items. Because this master window was probably the only one that was decent, but still a lot of them were faded and yellow and warping from the sun. And, you think, at least I think of this as like kind of a newer house compared to most of the ones we buy. And when you get to be a 20-year-old house, things start to break and need replaced. So even though it was a kind of a newer house, it still needed quite a bit of work done to it. In the bathrooms, we also did quite a bit of work on too, because they were super duper builder grade, really cheap. And so we replaced a shower and some vanities and made them look much, much better. This other bathroom, we also did some work on. It was very, very cheap before, so I think it looks way better. We also did the mirror, light fixtures, and it looks pretty good. Now, the tricky part with this house, and I noticed there's no toilet paper holder. If you remember one of my last videos, the toilet paper holder was really far away in the master bath, and we did move it and fixed it. I don't know if you noticed that. And this one didn't have one at all, and it still doesn't have one. So we may have to put one of those on at some point, or leave it for now and deal with it later. But yeah, the tricky part with this house, as I was saying and got distracted, it's great. It has a 3-car garage. And again, this light switch is weird because it just turned on one light and not these other lights over there. But it's got an unfinished basement. Most of the houses selling in this neighborhood have a finished basement. And so it's very tricky to value. And I also don't know why we have an oxygen tank in the garage still. I was going to tell Nikki about that and I forgot. So I'm glad I'm doing a voiceover on this video this time. But Nikki's my project manager. So valuing it is tricky because most of the houses have 2-car garages, have finished basements, just aren't the same. So there's a huge range from like $420,000 to $500,000 for houses that might be comparable to this one. And I think we're going to end up listing it around $450,000, $460,000 in that range. So we'll see what happens. It's not the best time of year to sell with the holidays, but it's not the worst either. Usually fall right when school is starting is the worst. This house has actually kind of been finished for a while, but we didn't want to list it during Thanksgiving week because I feel like that's a very distracting time to list a house, and you want as many people paying attention to your houses as possible. So we have another one ready to go as well. We'll show you here soon too. They were listing at the same time. But it'll be interesting to see what the demand is and if we get a lot of showings, if we get offers right away on this house or not. Like I said before, up here is where we had to replace some of the subfloor because something had fallen or eaten through that floor. It was crazy. We also painted this floor down here, kind of the garage floor paint. I think it looks so much better than it did before. Way, 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 way better. And cleaned up the window wells and stuff. Although there's still some cobwebs in there, but those are on the inside. I'm always going to find something. So that's the house. It turned out pretty good, I think. We'll see what demand is like. The other weird thing was I saw a lock on this window well. I was trying to figure out if they locked the window well cover, which is not good, not safe, but I think they just lock one side of it and it swings up so that no one steals your window wells covers, which I didn't know was an issue, but you never know. All right. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think. We'll have the other house here, that video very soon. It's staged as well, a much smaller house. About half the price of this one. Not quite half the price, but close. And we'll have other flips coming up, other business videos, a lot more, as well as the 8-plex, which is just turning into a barrel of fun. Take care. Be back soon.